Welcome to the Prosperous Musician. My name is Spence, and I'm with here. Today. I'm going to start that again.
No worries.
Welcome to the Prosperous Musician. My name is Spence, and I'm here today with my guest. It is Saskhia Menendez, who is a master's student at Tile Yard Studios doing marketing. And we're going to find out a bit more about Saskhia right now. Hello.
Hello, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you. And so just tell me a little bit about yourself and tell me how you got into music or into the music business.
Okay, so I started music at the age of about 7 years old. I was at school and they noticed that I was really good at singing. I come from a disadvantaged background myself. I was born to two deaf parents. My mum's black and my dad's white. Being born into a multiracial family, disadvantaged, wasn't very good at educational stuff, always been good at creative music, art, drama. So they noticed that I was really good at music. So I was at a state school and I managed to get a bursary to go to a private school. And that private school happened to be one of the best choirs in the world. So I joined the choir for about 5 years. We did our own albums, we did world tours, we did things all around the world, from down to movies to placements on TV, Inspector Morse, singing for the Queen, met Princess Diana. So I had kind of a musical upbringing from the age of 8 till around 14. And that kind of solidified my passion for music, my love for music and for performing. So that was kind of what gave me my kind of foundations in music. I then carried on music throughout my education from GCSE all the way up to masters. So I've always done music education, music industry, and music in general. So whether that be composition, songwriting, or singing, I've always been part of the music industry in one way, shape, or form. I then had two children. I'm now 37, so I'm not young. And during that time, I kind of had to divert from the music industry into other careers where I could make a living and pay the bills at the same time, obviously with children as well. So that put a stress on my musical career. So I kind of had a break. I went away and I kind of did teaching. I went traveling for a little while. So I taught English as a foreign language and traveled to some amazing countries, learned about some amazing cultures, and met some amazing people along the way. So for me, it was kind of music was always there and music's always been part of my life. Even when I was doing the teaching in Morocco and places like that, I found that a lot of the people are very into music and creativity, especially from deprived areas. And I used to help a lot of artists, whether it be promotion to marketing to management to getting events. And it kind of, my passion was always there. So I went back to uni and I did events, music and media management at London Metropolitan University down the road. I graduated in that and started my own artist management development company, which I ran for about 3 to 4 years. It was fine. It was great. But at the time, the music industry was in decline. It wasn't a great time to be in the music industry. There was a lot of job losses. There's a lot of file sharing going on. And there was a lot of illegal downloads. So the industry wasn't in a good state. And I thought, right, I need to kind of come away from it again and just went into another career. And I kind of did health and nutrition and that kind of thing. I then moved from Oxford because that's where I'm originally from in Oxford. So I moved to London to pursue my musical career again. I then met a guy and kind of fell in love, but that kind of went a bit wrong. And I was in domestic violence, which was pretty bad actually. And then the lockdown happened. So I thought, right, what am I going to do? I need to sort myself out. I came to London to do music. So a friend of mine told me about Tile Yard Education, and it was literally just 15 minutes down the road from me. And I heard it was an amazing musical community where there is situated. I think there's around 250 music businesses situated at Tile Yard. And it's about getting hands-on practical experience, as well as learning about the music industry, current issues and trends, and how to navigate my way around the industry and build contacts. So I found that was super beneficial for me. And I've now completed my master's in international music marketing, which I got a distinction in, which I'm really proud about. And for me, it's about helping other artists, especially right now, to figure out what their marketing campaigns would be, what kind of releases they would do, how they would develop as an artist, whether that be in image, in sound, in style, and just kind of helping other people, especially from underrepresented and disadvantaged communities like myself. Because I found being a trans woman in the music industry has had its challenges. It's a lack of representation, sometimes a lack of education, and just visibility as well. I think there is a big lack of representation for my kind of community in the music industry. So for me, it was about educating other people, inspiring other people, and kind of giving people a platform to kind of be able to get to the next steps in their career, which I really, really enjoy. And I help kind of working alongside other artists to create their vision in a way that's kind of commercial, where they can make money from it. Because I think there's a difference between a musician and an artist, because I think with an artist, you actually have to focus on your image more, and you have to have a style, and you have to have a purpose and a meaning. And I think what I try and home in on with artists is, what do you offer your audience? What is it do you offer to your audience, and how would you reach your audience? So for me, it's really about driving down to the very basics of who people are that listen to your music, where do they come from, what are their age groups, their income background. All of those kind of things have a massive impact on where you would and how you would market your music. So for me, I've kind of done it the complete opposite way around to everybody else, which was do the business side first. I'm also a musician, but I also do the music business. So for me, I'm also forming the first UK transgender girl group, which I'm in the process of doing at the moment. But it's also about kind of learning about the business, understanding the trends, the issues that are happening, technological advancements, changes in the law, and also just meeting people in the industry, because I think that is super crucial to success. It's collaboration, and it's teamwork, and it's networking. I think that's really one of the benefits of Talyard, because Talyard has a lot of that situated there up at Talyard. So I think that was one of the benefits of going there, was to help build that foundation of contacts that could help me progress, and also help other people progress in the same situation as me. So that's one thing that I kind of really am passionate about and enjoy. But I also do the equality and diversity stuff as well.
Yeah, I've noticed that you're very active on LinkedIn as well. I know you're and I believe you were doing some work at Tile Yard with the equal opportunities. And
That's correct. Yeah, it's literally about helping people in the music industry understand the barriers that people face, but also to just kind of help raise the representation across the board, and to kind of help diversify the music industry landscape. Because I think one of the challenges that I find is everyone's open to being diverse and equal, but at the same time, it's a step-by-step process, and it's going to take a long time for everything to be how it should be. But I think by having more people working collectively together across different sectors of society with the same aim, just makes everything more coherent, and it just kind of it helps to kind of break through the ice a little bit more when people are working collectively together for the same goals. So for me, it's not just about raising awareness, but it's also about building allies and building kind of a network across all of the underrepresented groups, so we can kind of work together collaboratively to make an impact, because I think that's more important.
yeah, well, it certainly sounds from what you've said about your background and your upbringing that you kind of fit in a lot of sort of minority kind of groups, and not only being sort of mixed race but transgender as well. So so what happens? I mean, maybe that's a subject for a different interview or something. But at what point did that happen? At what point did you change? At what point did?
Okay, so I think it was about 2024 when I went to the doctors, and I went to the GP, and I got given the wrong information. So then I had to wait a couple of years. I went back at 26. So I've transitioned about 12 years ago now, which was quite a long time ago. But at the same time, I think people need to realize that when you're going through such a big change, that I had to kind of take myself away from the work environment and focus on myself and kind of my image and what I represent. And also I wanted to kind of put that across in my music and in the stuff that I do with my music, is to share those experiences, is to share some of the things that I've learned, but also to give a vision and to help the younger generations that might be facing the same issues that what I faced, and kind of guide them, but do it in a positive way. And also to change perceptions, I think, of general society, because trans women, especially, have kind of an old-fashioned view that we are sex workers or we work in certain trades. And I think that as society is changing and we get more people in different positions, that we can show that we're more than just one thing. We're more diverse and we represent loads of different things. And I think by having that kind of representation and visibility helps those younger generations aspire to be like someone. Because I think at the moment, especially in music, trans artists don't have many people to look up to or to aspire to be like. So I want to try and help with that, but also educate the general population on, okay, what does it mean to be trans? What are trans women and what are trans men like? What do we represent? And I think by doing it in a fun way that's positive and that's through music, is kind of, it's not in your face, it's kind of more lighthearted and it's more fun. And I think that way people are more susceptible to listen and to take note. And that way you can kind of build more allies through music. So that's my point.
Yeah, so 12 years ago when you were when you were transitioning, so who were your inspirations then?
I would say my inspirations would have been, well, that's a very good question. I think at the time I didn't really have many people that I could look up to, and that's a good point. I didn't have many people that I could kind of look up to and say I want to be like, because there wasn't anyone in the mainstream that was really there that was visible to look up to. I think I had to do a lot of my own research and I had to do a lot of kind of community building myself, to build community around what I'm doing and to kind of connect with people that might identify that way or might be questioning who they are as a person. And I think that for me, that was really enlightening and empowering as well, to listen to other people's stories and other people's journeys, but to also kind of support them along their way. And I've always kind of worked in a supportive role, whether it be in the music industry or in any other job that I do. I've always helped other people and I always want to do that, and I think the difference between me and a lot of other musicians is that it's not about me. It's about a bigger picture. It's about my community and it's about community building and it's about awareness and education. And if I can do that through me, then that's what I would rather do rather than it be about me, if that makes sense. So for me, it's more so about helping diversify the music industry landscape, education, inspiration, but creativity on a level that's not been seen before, only because we haven't been given these chances. So for me, I just want to be able to get those chances and to help other artists along the way with my projects and their projects, so we can kind of collaborate and get them somewhere as well as myself.
And so your children, what age are they? Your children now?
I have a 16-year-old. He's 17 this month, well, next month, just coming in June, and the other one's 22. He'll be 22. So I had my children when I was 17 and 19. So I was very, very young when I had both of my children. And I think my children are very open-minded and they're fine with me being trans, but at the same time, it did come with its difficulties as well as a parent, navigating the changes that I went through, supporting them, and also having to go from one end of the spectrum to another end of the spectrum, because being kind of on the male end of a spectrum where there's more privileges, there was less kind of discrimination, and people kind of gave me more opportunities then than they do now. I think I've had to prove myself a lot more as a trans woman. I have to work a lot harder. I think it's just one of those things that I struggle with is, again, sometimes it can feel kind of isolating when you don't see people like yourself in an industry So for me, if I can kind of act as a kind of beacon of light for others who want to come into the music industry, whether it be in the music business or performance side, they know they're welcome. They know there's a place that they're accepted and they're safe and they're respected. Because I think for too long we've had the LGB, but we haven't had the T, unfortunately, when it comes to LGBT performances and events. You don't rarely see trans unless it's a drag act, and that's not trans, unfortunately. This is a problem that I do face with educating people is we tend to get a lot more drag acts on TV or commercial stuff than we do trans women. And that can kind of confuse people, and it's not their fault. It's just what they see. And they can kind of think, okay, so it's, for example, RuPaul's Drag Race is a good example. You see a group of guys, you see them dressed as a guy, and then they'll get changed and they'll do a performance. And people will think that that's trans, and we're actually completely different. We live a life that is solidly the same. We don't change. We are one person, and we represent the person we were stuck in one body. We've changed to another, where I think drag acts is more of a performance. It's more of a comedy. It's more of a entertainment purpose rather than a meaningful life changing purpose, which is what we represent. And what I want to kind of do is try and help with that, because I think when you've got too many different things that are quite similar, people get confused. So it's trying to be a bit more refined on what trans women are and what we represent as a community, because I think people would be surprised that even when it came down to, I was watching an act, and we do get this quite a lot, is non-binary people are also classed as trans. So it's kind of like a non-binary is neither a male or a female. So the trans umbrella has actually grown a lot this last few years. When I was first trans, it was just a trans man and a trans woman. There wasn't non-binary. It didn't exist. And I think, and some of the problems that have come along with these extra added bits, for example, the toilet issues, changing room issues, we didn't have any of these problems before because we didn't have as many people identifying as so many different strands of trans. It was a trans man or a woman, and it was quite simple. But now the umbrella's grown. I think it's caused a bit more confusion and a bit more friction because there's a bigger range of difference. And for people to understand that difference, it's about education. And if they're not receiving the education at school or through the workplace, then they're not going to get that education. So they're unaware of that. It's more a lack of awareness than ignorance, I would say. It's not the fact that people are ignorant. I think they're just unaware of something, or they're not sure. So for me, it's trying to make people understand a bit clearer what we represent and what we are and what we're about.
So I just want a couple more questions about this, and then maybe we can move more into the sort of music marketing kind of thing. But and this is interesting to me because I don't really know much about the community. My daughter identifies as she's kind of in the middle. She's
Non-binary.
Non-binary. So and I don't know whether that's a phase for her or whether it's something she's experimenting with, or whether that's something she's going to stick with. I don't know. But so my I guess out of curiosity, really, my questions are to you. Do you miss? So what do you miss about being male, and what are the advantages of what do you really love about being a trans woman? And is there is it what you thought it would be?
No, it's not what I thought it would be. That's a good question. I think it's kind of been a very challenging experience at times, but very rewarding at the same time. And things come up that sometimes you just don't think about, or you just don't plan and you can't prepare for. So some of these things, I think my transition's gone amazing. It's been absolutely amazing. It's been a life-changing experience. I'm super happy as I am now. I feel a lot more comfortable, a lot more confident. I feel like I am now who I was supposed to be. I feel like my body and my brain are in alignment. I feel happy within that. But I do struggle with equality and diversity quite a lot across the board. And I think that being a trans woman, I can see it a lot more because I've been on the other end of the spectrum. And I think that's the thing that I kind of miss the most. Maybe is the privilege that I had as a male, as a kind of a lighter skinned male, who could kind of pass as, most people thought I was foreign, Spanish, Italian, French, whatever. So it was kind of like a lot easier to get into a job. It was a lot easier to be given opportunities. It's a lot easier because I think when you're different, some people are a bit unsure. You have to prove yourself. You have to do that extra 50% of work that no one else does. And it's not just others, it's also yourself. I also have to push myself so much because I think it means so much to me what I'm doing. It's like another passion that goes along with my music, it's way more than me. It's about, okay, this is what I go through. This is what I've been through. How can I use that to help others, to guide others, to inspire others, and to share those experiences with people that are interested in listening to them? So I think that is the bigger picture for me, but it's also about building community, because I think, there's a lot of people out there, like you said, that go through these stages and phases, like your daughter, that might question their identity. And to have people that they can listen to, or they can kind of think, okay, do I fit into that? Does that work for me? Do I fit into that box? And just being able to understand or get a bit more educational knowledge in that area can save lives. It can really save people's lives, And I've lost friends along the way because of stigma, because of discrimination, because of lack of opportunities, And even me as a trans woman now, I have a master's degree and I've worked so hard. I do find that employment is a real challenge to get into. Now, I think it has multi-layers, the reasons why. And I think a lot of it is because people like to know you as a person. They like to get to know you, build relationships. But it's also about, we haven't done this before. And the music industry loves things that they've already done because it's safe and it's not risky. And I think that once people give me a chance and they figure out what I'm about and what I represent, they're more than happy. But it's always having to prove that first. And I think that is in itself can become a challenge, especially when you have your own life situations you've got to deal with. And you also sometimes have internal battles with yourself, as a trans woman. And I think to have all of that going on and to keep going and to keep persevering is one of the things that we are it's ingrained in trans women. We are very resilient. We have to be thick-skinned. We have to just keep going, And I've come from one end of the scale where I was very privileged. And then it's been quite a struggle lately, especially going through uni and through my master's, having to really, really get to the nitty-gritty of, right, this is my passion. This is what I want to do. And it's literally sacrifices you have to make. I have to make a lot of sacrifices. I have to get to where I am now, but I've still got a lot of more sacrifices to make. And I think it's about understanding, okay, this is my passion, this is my goal, and I have a plan, but that plan doesn't always go as it should. So sometimes it's about, okay, reassessing my plan, going back to the drawing board and saying, okay, if it didn't work this way and this didn't go that way, how am I still going to get to where I'm going to go, but a different route, So it's not about, okay, this isn't going to happen. It's okay, this might not happen this way. It's still going to happen, but I'm going to have to find another way around it. So it's being very tactful. And again, like the way I think of everything I do, it's very strategic. I try and do stuff that has a meaning or a purpose. Even when I'm working with people, I like to work with people that are aligned with my goals and values. I like to work with people that have gone through disadvantaged stuff and I've been discriminated against, because I can relate to that. I can support that. I can help that. And I can also give an extra voice to that, So it helps amplify, not just amplify, but build those connections, those meaningful, true connections across the industry. And I think from the lower levels, that's really beneficial from the grassroots levels, because some of these people will progress in the industry and they will go up. And as you build those kind of relationships and they grow and you grow, you know, some fantastic things can happen. I was down at Great Escape a few weeks ago now, and I must have come back with about 60 business cards, and it was absolutely amazing. It was mind blowing. I had a great time. There was a lot of conferences, festivals, networking events, and live music events. It was very full on. But, you know, I've come away with 50 connections, 50 business cards. They might not all be useful now. Half of those are not going to be any use for about another year yet. But the fact that I still know those people, I've built a connection with those people and they know my name, I think is an important thing in the industry. What I would say to people is get out there, share your story, tell people who you are, what you're about, and what you represent. Once people have got that personal view and they've met you, they built a relationship with you, they're way more likely to help you than if you just go and get an email off a website and then email someone, oh, I've got this track, can you help me? You've got to do a little bit more work than that. It's not that easy, I'm afraid, you know? And that's some of the things that I've learned is if you really, really, really want something, you've got to work for it and you've got to pull out all the stops. So for me, I work in the States, in Canada, in the UK, across Europe, and I'm at events, at conferences and networking events at 2:00 in the morning sometimes in our time, you know, because those relationships will help me in the future. Each person I meet has a different skill, has a different kind of knowledge base to mine. I can learn from every single person I meet in the industry, and I find it very rewarding. So that's what I really enjoy. I really enjoy learning because I think you can never know enough in the music industry. Everything's forever changing, and it's about keeping up with that. And that's a good way of doing that, you know? So I would always recommend getting out there, going to all the networking events you can go to all the kind of publishers, Music Publishing Association, the MMF, all of these different FAC. They all have their own kind of networking meetings and conferences and educational talks where you can go along, you can meet people and you can build those relationships. I think that's really how you're going to get somewhere in the industry, to be honest.
That's the common thread in a lot of these interviews that I've done. And that you have to immerse yourself in the music industry. It's not just about, as you said, firing off your track, saying, listen to this, buy this, come to this gig. It's about, meeting people, you know, where you can face to face, whether that's through a screen or, you know, in person now when things are opened up. But it is, as as many years ago, as James Brown said, you know, you got to be on the scene.
You certainly do. Yeah.
Not necessarily like a sex machine, but, you know, just being on the scene. But and that's one of the reasons. Well, that is one of the main reasons why I started this podcast. Is just because of that. Because it's very, you know, approaching people on LinkedIn or online or somewhere like that, we're just like, hey, you know, listen to this and listen to that. You know, that's no one's going to respond to that because everyone's inbox is blown up with that. Even close people who you know, I haven't got time to listen to your music. I've got it's difficult, but however, everybody wants a platform. Everybody has got a voice. Everyone's got a story. Everyone wants to connect, and so. If I can come in and say, hey, I really want to talk to you, I want to know more about you, and let's talk and let's put it out there. You know, we all need content, right? That's the currency nowadays. Content is king. We have to put stuff out there. And if you can benefit from you using some of this, I can benefit from using some of that, and we can make a connection, then, you know, that's how it goes, right? And everyone's happy. And I've got a couple of more questions, which are more personal questions. I'll leave those to the end, maybe, if we've got a bit of time, and then we can get into more of the sort of. Now we're on that. The tip. What I was interested in when you were talking about is forming this group. Yeah. Which when you said that, I thought, well, that's gonna work because the time is right. People are more open, maybe not completely open, but they're more open now in 2022 than they were 5 years ago. Right. Or even 3 years ago to a translated group. So I think the fact that you have a musical background, your musical training, you're not just, you know, going, oh, let's see if I can sing and let's put a group together. You've got the qualifications to do it. You've got the motivation to do it, and you've got the reason to do it is as you said, to create something that people can aspire to, or be inspired by, or be informed by. That this is who we are, this is what we do, and as you said, it's not a dry kind of approach that you're trying to convert people or trying to browbeat people into accepting who you are. You're just saying, hey, look, this is what we do. This is how we sound. This is, we know in lots of ways we're no different to anyone else, but in lots of ways we are, because we've got a unique story, and we've got the journey that you've been through has created. As you said, you've been through the fire. You've been tempered in the fire. All these experiences that you've gone from a relatively privileged position to the other side, and now you're sort of having to work twice as hard, which in itself creates a different personality. So that's something that I've just kind of got in this interview. If you know what I mean, I've just heard myself say that. I go, yeah, I understand that now, whereas before I didn't. I'm really like a lot of people going, I don't really understand that. I'm a bit afraid of it. Because, you naturally not naturally, but oftentimes I kind of move away from things I don't really understand, or I'm just a bit afraid of it. Having, like anything, if you have a one-to-one with someone that, as opposed to a one-to-many, obviously everyone's story is different. And everyone's got a different, even if you're in a minority group, there are some people you're going to understand more and empathize with more than others, even though their story is the same. So anyway, just bringing all that back to the group. So tell me more about the group and where you're at with that.
Okay, so basically what's happened is I have done my campaign, I've done my budget, I've done everything with this group. So I've come up with a creative concept, I've come up with the idea, I've come up with the look and everything. But the only thing now is I need to get the band members on board. So for me, I've gone to the drawing board. I've applied for some funding, and I got my funding applications through yesterday, actually. So the Arts Council said no at the moment. So that was kind of like, okay, that was going to help me do my auditions. So now I've had to go back to the drawing board again and say, okay, right, I'm not going to get the funding, so I'm not going to be able to do these auditions. How am I going to go around it? So this is what I was saying to you earlier. So things don't always go to plan. So now I was thinking to myself, right, I need to figure out, I've got a few friends of mine that are producers and stuff who have said, right, Saskia, once you're ready, come to the studios, we'll work. It's literally finding, because what I want to do is I want to have race along with the gender, because it's a two thing that I want to look at, because for myself, I'm multiracial and I'm also trans. So if I can represent both of those things through the music, I'm kind of killing two birds with one stone. We're doing the race card and we're doing the gender card. That way we have more appeal. That way we're more marketable as well. And it's about also crossing over. So I want to try and work in the dance, electronic, pop. I think that's going to be the best for our group. And I want to have it with 3 band members, because I think 3, I like the number 3. 3 looks good on a stage. I've watched bands that have got 2 members and I think, no, something's missing here. I like to watch things visually. And I like to look at other artists as well. And I'm very observant when it comes to what are other artists doing and what do they bring? Like, because I look at a musician and then I look at an entertainer, and they're 2 different things, right? Mm. Someone that entertains you, someone that has an image, a style, who's very visual, who you can kind of pick out of a crowd. They stand out from a crowd. And I want my group to be like that. I want it to be very polished. I want it to be very up there with the music. Like, the music has to be foremost before everything else. Has to be top quality, has to look good, but I want it to also be full of meaning and purpose, And if I can fill it with as much meaning and purpose as I can, then that's the key. But it's literally getting a few members to come on board now. But again, the trans community is very fragmented, and I want it to represent the whole of the UK. This was my plan. So I wanted it to represent I wanted to have someone from north, I think, up north and from down south as well. So I'm going to be part of that band, but it's now literally finding, okay, Saskia, it's 2 other members of that band. How am I going to find them? So I'm literally out there now, literally scouting and going to all these different places to try and find trans musicians, which is a bit of a challenge. because there are not many of us. And the ones that are already out are generally solo artists. So for me, it's about, okay, coming back to the drawing board again and figuring out, well, how am I going to get this band together now? So the frustrating thing I've got is I've got all these contacts and I've got all these people out there that I've met. And they're like, Saskia, send us the music. We'd love to hear the music. Please send us the music whenever you're ready. But I don't have anything to send at the moment for my own projects, which is very frustrating. So I think for me, what I want to do is I might go down to I might try and do it by myself at first and see if I can get another 2 members to come on board. But it's one of those things, it's very much maybe start doing my thing and I might find someone else later on down the line. I don't know, but it's really about me coming back to the drawing board and saying, okay, that was my group idea. And then how can I make sure that I still kind of keep the main focus of it, whether that be with a 3-piece right now, or whether that be just me getting stuff out there and getting kind of some feedback. And because what I do worry about is when you make these connections, you've got to keep in touch with these connections. You can't just make a connection and then forget about them. You've got to try and keep them in the loop. And I don't want to leave anything too long without keeping people in the loop because they'll just forget, So for me, it's really now, it's about the timing. The timing's right. It's literally, if I can't find another 2 band members within the next, 6 weeks, then I'll just start a solo project and then maybe audition that way, because it's the financial barriers. Some of them are preventing me from doing what I need to do next. So yeah, I'm just going around it. I'm navigating my way.
Was this project, what you did for your masters? Was that?
It was my final project as part of my masters, yeah. So what we had to do was we had to do a proposal with a 3-year campaign and a budget, which was fine for this first section. The second part was a 3-year marketing campaign. So I kind of figured out, okay, how am I going to get this band from a developing stage to an intermediary stage? How am I going to get them signed? How am I going to build the fan base? And how am I going to get a publishing deal and a distribution deal? Like, I'm not interested in a record label and I'm not interested in an artist manager. A lot of artists will say, I need an artist manager. A lot of people will say, I need a record label. You really don't. And the reasons behind that is because I feel I have enough skills to manage the band manage it myself. But the thing is with the other side of it is retaining as many rights as I can, because that way you get more money in the long run. And it's more beneficial in a business sense, and it also gives you more negotiation when people do come to you and say, okay, we want to sign a contract with you, we want to sign a deal with you. You've got more leverage because you can do more, you've got more to offer. And the way I see it is like anyone you work with, they always want something in return, like you said. And by trying to keep as much of it in-house as I possibly can, not all of it, because I know it's about collaboration, but the business side of it, if I can keep that management side of it in-house and still be part of that band, that gives me a massive advantage, as well as the knowledge and the contacts, So I think it's got its advantages to that. And I think, yeah, that's something that I'm really happy about, is the fact that I can do that. I think a lawyer is a good person to have. The first person I would always recommend to have is a lawyer, because they're connected with everybody in the industry. And you might not even have to work with them. It's just sending them tracks, building a relationship up with them before a manager. I think a manager will find you. When people are like, oh, I need a manager. If you're good and you do what you do well, they'll come to you. So I think a lot of musicians and artists today need to realize that make yourself contacts, do what you do, know what you represent and who you are, but also find a lawyer, a music lawyer that can guide you and help you, a good one that you trust. I think that's something that I came away with great escape for. And I thought that's great advice, for anybody, because a lawyer can put you in contact with a lot of different people, and they don't necessarily have to even be your lawyer. You could just go for a bit of advice, pro bono advice. A lot of people will help you out with that. And just building those relationships. I really think a lot of people forget that. They think it's all about a screen, it's all about social media, it's all about emails, and it's really about being personal and building those relationships. Yeah, for sure.
That's great, and it's such a great project. I can always see you make a great sort of mini documentary or something, some kind of series, because it's
Part
so
of that campaign as well,
it's
yeah.
so niche. Like you say, that talking as marketers, I'm also into marketing, and that's how we got talking. Is that, yeah? It's two different hats, isn't it? So you, like you say, the soul and the artistry is the music. That starts with the music, and that's where it all begins. But then you have to switch hats and go, okay, well, how am I going to place this? You have to be strategic, and like you say, this is how qualifications can help with that. But at the same time, it's having a system. And like you say, the first thing is like it's the market. The media, the message, the media, market, the message, and the media. I forgot which way you round it, but yeah, finding the market first, or saying this is what I represent, and here's the market, and the message is what you're saying about yourself, and then the media is obviously how you communicate that, which is nowadays it's every which way, isn't it? It's online, it's offline, it's any which way you can,
Yeah.
but mostly online. But nothing really substitutes a good performance. But at the end of the day, people want to still see live performances, and they want to see that you can do it live, no matter how much online content you put out. They want to see that eventually.
Sure.
So I think it's really interesting what you're doing, and I wish you all the best of luck with it. And I wanted to. There's a couple of names that I could give you, which you may already know because you're very such an active networker. You might already know them, but I'll tell you those. I'll mention those names after and see if you can. You mention, I can put you in touch if not, if you don't know them. But it's been fascinating talking to you, Saskia, and I really sort of wish you all the best in what you do. And just from meeting you here, I've got the feeling you're kind of relentless, and you're going to pursue what you do, and you will be successful in what you do. I've got that feeling about you. So no matter how long it takes, you will be doing it.
I'll get there one way or another. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So okay. So is there any way? So where can we find out more about you? If somebody's watching this and they want to get in touch?
Yeah. You can find me on LinkedIn, which is Saskhia Menendez, and that's Saskia with a H. So that's SASKHIA Menendez. Or you can find me on Instagram at MIZSASKIA. That's Miss Saskia. And they're probably the best places you can contact me, or by email. So that's my initial M and then Saskia at gmail.com. So that's Saskia@gmail.com. If you want to contact me via email, I'm always willing to collaborate and connect with musicians across the music industry. If there's any way I can kind of help anyone, or if anyone needs any advice, then feel free to contact Spence or myself. Spence is completely free to me, and I'm more than happy to help.
Great, perfect. Well, thanks for your time, Saskia, and be prosperous.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And likewise, thanks for having me, Spence.
You're welcome.
Thank you.